Greetings everyone. In today's video I'll be sharing with you how I could achieve my Queen Anne Conic hip gown. This is the sewing aspect of this video. If you have not watched the drafting aspect, I linked it in the description box. So let's get started. This is the skirt pattern. I have cut it out on my main fabric and on my lining. On the lining I added my strong gum stay, the strongest gum stay. I added 1 inch on the back center for zipper allowance and ½ inch on the side for your seam allowance. The side does not need a lot of sewing allowance. For the front, I cut it on fold and I add ½ inch on the side as my seam allowance. I am using the strongest gum stay. For the fabric, I am using Dolce, not the very shiny Dolces. I bought one trouser which is 45 inches of the Dolces and 1 yard of the chantilly, the net I used for the hand. I got 1 yard of that. I have also cut out the Queen Anne effect on my chantilly net and I added ½ inch all around for both the front and the back piece. I cut the front pattern on fold, added ½ inch to the down and to the top part, 1.5 to the side. I also cut the same thing on my lining and I have added my stay on the lining of the upper piece. I'll go ahead to pin the both of them together and keep this aside. I have transferred my back pattern to my fabric and to my lining and I cut out the same thing, but on my lining I have already added my stay. So I'll keep the lining aside. For what I cut out, I added 1.5 inches on the back center and on the side. For the up and the down, I added ½ inch for sewing allowance. I also clipped the zipper allowance on the back center. I'll go ahead to pin this together, keep it aside, and we'll proceed to the sewing aspect. I'll go ahead to unpin the front pattern, but kindly take note of the distance of this your slash. It might not be a constant for everybody, and for mine I have 1.25. Just remember it. So I'll go ahead to unpin this and I'm going to open this up. When you open it up, I'm going to take my chantilly, the Queen Anne part, and take note. Remember I said I have 4 pieces of this. The essence is that I'm going to be using 2 for one shoulder. That is to say, you are going to use one to turn the other, and you are going to use a mid iron, not too hot, to iron it down so that it will be smooth. This is what you are going to do for every pieces of the Queen Anne effect. I've done it for the both side. I'll flip it like this, place it on the side, making sure that it is seated equally with the main fabric. Pin this up on the both corners, and I'm going to go ahead. You can decide to sew it separately, or you can decide to just place the lining on it and sew it all at once if your hands is strong. So I'll just place my lining on this and I'm going to go ahead to sew it all at once. I'll sew the neckline, sew the side. Please do not sew the armhole. This is for the back piece. I'll unpin my pattern. Before you remove your pattern for the back piece, make sure you clip your sewing allowance of the back piece. Clip it. It is very important. So I'll remove my pattern now. I'm going to take out my already torn Queen Anne neckline, place it immediately after my sewing allowance. Okay, I will pin it up at that point. Your shoulder should be facing the waistline. You place your lining on it, you pin it up, you start sewing from the back center all the way to where your Queen Anne neckline stops. Do not sew the armhole. Then you leave it unsewn and you sew this other side. I'll repeat the same thing for the second side. I am done turning the lining. All you have to do is to top stitch the down when you have flipped it to the right side and iron it down. As you can see, I did not sew the armhole. To have a very neat finish on your shoulder point, you are going to open up the shoulder like this for the front and the back. You place the 2 shoulder joints together and you are going to pin it up at this point. Now you are going to sew this following the shape of the shoulder. You sew taking it ½ inch from one end to the other end, and you do that for the both shoulders. When you do this, you have a very neat finish. Now when you want to join the front to the back, you notice that the front is longer than the back, which is because of our slash effect. You take your pattern and you measure from your armhole to your bust point line, and mine gives me 2, and I'm going to mark it out at that point. So next we are going to insert the gap of the dart, and remember mine gives me 1.25, which I mark out. Now I'm not expected to fold this dart big like this. No, it will be obvious. It will be too obvious on the main fabric. All you have to do is to make tiny pleats like gather at that point, so that when you top stitch it, taking in your sewing allowance, it will not be obvious that it's a dart. So you just make sure that your pleats, they are not too big when you are taking in the bust that excess. Just tiny pleats, and you go ahead to shape the side, taking in your allowance. Look at what mine look like when I'm done, and you can see that it is not too obvious on the both side. So I've gone ahead to join the shoulder, and this is what it looks like when you use that method I explained. Now, to make the shoulder really bold, I'm going to be sharing with you a secret technique. You are going to put your hemming gum on the shoulder, and you are going to iron it until the hemming gum disappears. Yes, you sprinkle water on it, and because it's a light fabric, I would advise that you just place another fabric on it while you iron, so it will not burn. So you iron the hemming gum till the hemming gum disappears, so that point can be firm. So let's move to the skirt part. The skirt part is not hard, but I've joined the upper body. So for the skirt part, I have just turned the down part of the two back pieces and of the front pieces. After ironing, you have to take your time and ensure that both the fabric and the lining, they are of equal length and breadth for both the front pieces and the back piece. So I'm going to take the front part that I've already turned and ironed, and I'm going to open it up like this, placing the join at the down together. You are going to be sewing this lining to lining and fabric to fabric. You are taking in half of an inch that you added as sewing allowance, and you are doing this for the both side. So when you are done sewing, you are going to iron this open for the both side. Next, you go to the back center and you place this right side facing right side, and you go ahead to sew it from the up to the down so that you can finish the back center, and this will be all for the back side. Now I've gone ahead to shape the sleeve, and I have notched the center. You're going to place the notch center of the sleeve on the shoulder joint, and you're going to pin it up. Next, you're going to take the side of the sleeve and you place it on the side of the dress, and you also pin it up. Then you go ahead to sew the sleeve to the armhole all around. So next, I'll go ahead to place the front piece on fold, and I'm going to notch the center part on the waistline like this. And I'm going to take the skirt part, which I have already notched the center of the skirt. Kindly take note, this is how neatly finished your inner skirt should be. And you pin the notch point together and you sew it from one end to the other end. So here I am done sewing this all around. Next, you go ahead to fix your zipper, taking in the exact zipper allowance you added so that you can get a perfect fit. After this, you are going to go to the shoulder point. You are going to make a tiny band. The length of the band can be as long as you want, and you top stitch it on the both shoulder. Do not forget to iron your hemming gum to become invisible. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I would love to see you in my next video. Bye.